Hey everyone, welcome to the Fortress of Solitude podcast. I'm your host, Sergio Pereira. So, The Long Halloween Part 2. Of course, we were discussing Part 1 not so long ago, and Part 2's come out pretty soon, which I must say it's a really good move on DC and Warner's part as well, because it doesn't keep you waiting too long. You know, you're already excited. You've got a little bit of that taste in your mouth. You know, they give you something, just a taster, kind of like drugs. You know, they give you just a little bit taster, but you got to pay for the second hit. Yeah, it's a really bad analogy, and yeah, don't do drugs. But yeah, I'm not going to rehash what was discussed before in Part 1 in terms of the voice cast and, you know, the animation style, because it's the same, and you can go click that link and go listen to it again if you really want to. In fact, the only thing I'm actually going to say in terms of the voice cast here is two things. And one of them really annoyed me and irritated me, and that was the Mad Hatter's voice. The reason for this is he sounded like a budget Joker the whole time. Like the way he was laughing, sniveling. It's like, I mean, it kind of sounded like a mixture between Krusty the Clown and, you know, the Clown Prince. And I know why. The reason for this is it's because John DiMaggio, who played the Joker before, did the voice of Mad Hatter here. And now here's the thing. I really love DiMaggio's version of the Joker and Under the Red Hood. But I just wasn't a fan of the Mad Hatter here. I felt he was using a very similar voice, and there was no real range or dynamic nature to the characters, you know, the way they spoke. It just sounded like a budget Joker. I just could not get out of my head. Every time I saw the character on screen, I'm like, whoa, there's a Joker behind them or what? But look, also in all fairness, I really hate the Mad Hatter character. I think it's one of the stupidest characters in the Batman universe. And so I don't know. Let's just move on. Now, in terms of voice cast, one of the best things about this movie is Josh Duhamel's performance. Because whilst I was impressed with him in Part 1 of the movie, Part 1 of The Long Halloween, he absolutely steals every single scene as Two-Face. He was already convincing as Harvey. He sounded great. He just had the grandeur and, you know, his delivery, and you can actually imagine him as a live-action Harvey Dent. But he's absolutely incredible as Two-Face. In fact, there were a few moments that I was like, whoa, this might be the most seminal Two-Face performance of all time. I will actually draw comparisons to Richard Moll's iconic performance as the villain in Batman the Animated Series, because Josh's performance here is as good, if not better than that. I felt that this was pretty much one of the best vocal performances I've ever heard. Everyone talks about Jensen Ackles absolutely killing it as the Red Hood and Mark Hamill as the Joker. Well, I think we need to start considering Duhamel's name anytime Two-Face is mentioned. In fact, I don't want to hear any other actor voice Two-Face in the future if it's not Duhamel. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the best things about this movie. And obviously, it is pretty much the Harvey Dent show, because anybody who has read the comic book series before will know how important Two-Face actually is to the second part of the story, which is, you know, the whole plot of this movie. You know, this whole like new arc of the story. And, you know, it's always playing that sort of game. Is it really him? Isn't it him as obviously the holiday killer? And, you know, people who've read the comic books will know the answer to this. But I also found that it did it really well in the sense that, you know, it kind of led you in a way that you kind of start thinking maybe they could be pulling a trick on us. You know, that maybe the filmmakers are actually pulling a trick, and they might actually switch the identity of the holiday killer at any time. I mean, we've seen it before in other DC movies. Hush was a good example, how it actually subverted our expectations and changed it all around. But the other thing it did really well is I thought it stayed really true to the source material, and also the modern stories where Thomas Wayne's role in Gotham's crime families play a pivotal role, because they'd never been explored before. Everyone always, you know, spoke about the Waynes as benevolent, you know, rich people who always gave money to Gotham City, and they were like these practically saints. And then they just got gunned down by, you know, the very people who they were trying to save. And I found it quite interesting, you know, a lot of modern Batman stories have kind of flipped the script a bit there, and they've kind of shown Thomas to not necessarily be as benevolent or as good as he was initially portrayed to be. It also explores like a bit of an uglier side of the Wayne family, you know, the history they don't want to discuss. And I think The Long Halloween did a really good job here, like as the original comic book series did. But it also does offer redemption to the character, which I think is something different than an example of the Batman Telltale games, where Thomas was just a straight up thug. I mean, he was ruthless. He was the Penguin before being the Penguin, pretty much that, before Oswald was a Penguin. So yeah, that was really, really cool, I found. Now, again, we got to discuss obviously the ending, because I found that the rest of the movie was pretty much true to the source material. Obviously, naturally, a few little changes here and there for things that suit the small screen more than the pages. But I gotta admit, I was a little bit surprised by that ending. It really did catch me off guard, because there was a twist. Actually, let me say there were two twists. There were two twists that I did not see coming, and I actually had to go and check up on one of them before even recording this. I was thinking to myself, but wait, has that ever been revealed before in any like Batman comics or hinted at? And yes, there is a sort of hint, there's a bit of an online debate about it before, but it was done really well, this one thing, which I'm not going to spoil for you, because if you haven't watched it, I want you to get the same sort of surprise that I did. So we are not in the business of running spoilers here for hits, because yeah, there are other sites doing that. So you can go and send them your hate. It's fine. But I was really surprised by the one thing. I would call it like, the precursor to the ending. It was like, obviously in the climax of the movie, and we kind of understand, but I was surprised by that. That was really well done. And the other one was the motives of the holiday killer. Now, this was the thing I found really, really interesting, is that the motivations provided in this film deviated from the motivations in the comics, right? And the way that it did it was in such a way that I was actually more convinced by what the holiday killer was doing in this movie versus the comics. So for the first time ever, we can actually say that the movie is better than the book. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it was handled really, really well. I must say that the way that these two parts were adapted was just done in such a way that it paid such respect to the source material. I know Tim Sheridan, like he wrote both movies, and he's also been doing a lot of comic book work at DC at the moment. And he also did Masters of the Universe Revelation. And he's just paid so much respect to it that he understands, obviously, what fans want to see. He gets it. And they understand, with the filmmakers, understand that there's certain non-negotiables in a Batman movie. And they've hit the mark on every single one of them. But at the same time, they still managed to make it fresh. This isn't the story that you thought you saw like ages ago when Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale wrote the comic book series. It feels a little bit more modern. It feels a little bit more like 2021 story versus when it was released all those years ago. And I found that was the best part about it, because it's been handled in the right way. It's taken in and said, okay, what are the most important elements of the story? What are the core essentials for Batman? What are the non-negotiables? What can't we change? And it said, all right, okay, cool. We map it out, and that's it. Hits every beat. So the fans who read the comic book are going to be absolutely thrilled about it. But also the new audience who has no clue that what the Long Halloween is, and they think it's some movie where Michael Myers comes back and chases after you, pretty much like the whole entire history of Halloween movies. They're going to watch this and they're going to say, wow, this is a really cool Batman story. And they might actually be inspired to go pick up the comics to explore a little bit more of this world, and perhaps even read the follow-up, Dark Victory, which I honestly think is probably even a better story than The Long Halloween, in my personal humble opinion, I guess. So yeah, I found it just was handled absolutely the right way. And this two-part series, it's up there. It is up there with all the great Batman animated movies, with Mask of the Phantasm, obviously Under the Red Hood, even the Dark Knight Returns two-parter as well, because that was really good. So I'm super excited. I mean, this is obviously the new phase of the DC universe. We've seen it as well with the brand new Superman that was released, and the Justice Society movie as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there at the moment. And I feel that DC animation is the new direction is on the right track. And I'm very, very excited to see what comes next, because if this is an indication of the quality, I think they've set a very, very high bar, and I cannot wait to see anything. I can't wait. I can't actually wait for the next edition. No, I can't wait to not see anything. I'm not speaking double negatives here. So yeah, I am super, super excited. And what about you guys? Have any of you seen the Long Halloween Part 1 or Part 2? What did you think of it? let us know in the comment section down below. Until next time, cheers.